it's my pleasure to share a few things, whatever I could study in this Jyotish Shastra. So, as let me directly go to the topics. Just to remind you that we had discussed uh, the origin and how Jyotish Shastra came to an existence. And there only I had explained that the important thing one must know is Jyotish Shastra is a broader umbrella which contains several disciplines, Indian astronomy, Indian mathematics, and so on, architecture, and so on. So we could see some earlier references from Vedic texts and all. We discussed several interesting things or captivating topics in Indian astronomy. So one or two things I will explain in brief only regarding Indian astronomy, and after that we can move into the mathematics part. So this is a very interesting one and very popular also, that how Bhaskaracharya explained the concept of gravitation in his Siddhanta Shiromani. So the verse is very beautiful. Akrishti Shaktischa Mahi Tayayat Khastham Guru Swabhimukham Swashaktya Akrishyate Tat Patativa Bhati Same Samantat Kvapatatviyam Khe. So the meaning is explained here. The earth has the attracting force that earth attracts the objects towards itself with that gravitational force. They appear to fall. See, clearly Bhaskaracharya says that in space with matching forces, where should the earth fall? So he clearly says that earth attracts the objects towards itself and they appear to fall. The context also is very interesting here. Actually, according to Bhaskaracharya in Siddhanta Shiromani, this is 11th or 12th century text. So he says actually there is little difference in the opinion of Aryabhata and Bhaskaracharya. According to Bhaskaracharya, earth doesn't move and it has adhara also. Aryabhata says, Aryabhata poses another opinion that earth moves, that is explained in our earlier discussion. So when Bhaskara says that earth has adhara, actually Bauddhas have another opinion that according to the Bauddhas, there are several texts like Lalita Vistara and all, where some astronomy related things also come. So there Bauddhas say that the earth keeps falling. So there is no end. And because none of the object can stay in the sky without having any adhara. So this is what their argument, Buddha's argument. So as a counter argument, Bhaskaracharya says he gives some other things also, and then he says why actually we say that it the logic Bauddhas presented is any object cannot stay in the space. Therefore, earth also should fall. Should fall. That is the logic presented by. That is the reasoning presented by the Bauddhas. So, to negate that argument, Bhaskaracharya says whatever we see the objects falling down, it actually is an appearance only. It is not a fact. So he gives the reason like this, that it is actually earth attracts with its gravitational force. So this also is very interesting thing what we can see from Indian astronomy. So this one is very interesting. This is this opinion posed by R.C. Gupta. He actually has done immense work in Indian astronomy, especially Indian mathematics also. So in his paper, Invention, Journey and Triumph of Indian Sign, he explains that in our Jya only took the term as sign in the modern mathematics. So I hope all of you know what is the sign in according to modern mathematics. So the term, Indian term or the Sanskrit term for sign is ja. Ja or Jiva, both terms have been used in Indian texts, Indian astronomy texts. So R.C. Gupta says that when Indian texts, Indian astronomy texts have been translated into Arabic languages, so they actually translated the term Ja as Jab, and in Arabic language, when actually in the after 14th or 15th century, when even 16th century, when European countries actually translated Arabic works into their language, they found the term jaib or jab, and they tried to understand. They don't know that they were not aware of the fact that Arabic language actually borrowed this term from Sanskrit. So they felt that what might be the meaning of this term jab, and they saw in their language that jab means pocket, and for pocket usually English language actually borrows a lot of terms from Latin, right? So we can go to that language families. So that is completely different discussion. So I am not going for that. So in Latin language, there is a term sinus for pocket. So that actually came in Latin language, and then it went in the form of sign in English. So jiva or ja has become jab, and it become sinus in Latin language, and it become sign in English. So in this way, the journey of Indian ja and how it became sign. So R.C. Gupta beautifully explains, and so this is very good book to read. In the history of mathematics and mathematicians of India, published by Rashtrothana Sahitya, Bengaluru. Venugopal D. Herur also has done great research work in Indian mathematics. So this is an excellent book to refer to. So with this, I will stop the discussion on Indian astronomy. So let us see Indian mathematics. So Indian mathematics has been evolved in two ways. So one is as a part of Siddhanta texts. So remember, Siddhanta means Indian astronomy, where we compute the eclipses or the true positions of the planets and Tithi, Nakshatra. These things actually have been explained in the Siddhanta text. So as a part of Siddhanta text, we can see a lot of mathematics related discussions in the in several texts. For example, Ganita Pada, this Aryabhatiyam of Aryabhata has four quarters, four padas. So one of those padas is Ganita Pada. Ganita, Kalakriya, Gola. In this way, he actually divided it in four padas, four quarters. So one quarter, so 25% of the work completely dedicated dedicated for Ganita, for the mathematics. And you can see in Brahmasputa Siddhanta that Ganita and Kuttaka chapters. These are two chapters. Purely mathematics has been discussed. And even in Siddhanta Shekhara, the 12th, the 13th and 14th chapters completely dedicated for Vyakta and Avyakta Ganita. So Vyakta is arithmetic and Avyakta is algebra. And Leelavati and Bijaganita. So though we call now Leelavati and Bijaganita as independent texts, but if you see how Bhaskaracharya formed the Siddhanta Shiromani, so this Siddhanta Shiromani has four parts: Leelavati, Bijaganita, Grahaganita, and Goladhyaya. So this Leelavati and Bijaganita also, actually he started as a part of Siddhanta Shiromani, but later we treat Leelavati and Bijaganita as independent texts only, and we can see separate Mangalacharanam in Leelavati and Bijaganita. So later Bhaskara also treated these two as independent texts only. So that is one thing. And as an independent branch, several authors they compose the works on mathematics itself. So for example, Trishatika, composed by Sridharacharya in the 8th century, and he only composed Pati Ganita also. This Trishatika is Pati Ganita Sara, and Mahaviracharya, he composed Ganita Sara Sangraha, and Narayana Pandita, Bija Ganita Avasamsa and Ganita Kaumudi. There are a lot of works, even I'm giving a few examples only. So there are some other works also are available in this Indian astronomy and mathematics in both. So some earlier sources. So when we when we trace the origin of Indian mathematics, though some of the in for example in Vedic corpus or in Shulva Sutras. So actually Shulva Sutras are the part of Kalpa Sutras. So Kalpa, I hope in this Vedanga series that also will be discussed in upcoming sessions. So actually the purpose of Kalpa Sutras is something it is something different, but while in Kalpa Sutras some Yajna Vedi has to be designed, right? So for the sacrifices that where we perform that yajna kunda, homa kunda and all, so that has to be designed. For that purpose some mathematical things actually come. And in Hindu civilization also we can see that scales and instruments for measuring length. So some things were found. And in Vedic corpus also, if you see Rudradhyaya, Ekacha me, Tisrascha me, Panchacha me, Saptacha me, Navacha me, Ekadashacha me, it gives the list of odd numbers, and then even numbers also have been given. So in this way, some topics or some aspects related to Indian mathematics can be found in different sources, though they are not purely mathematics texts, but mathematics related things can be found in these texts. That is what I wanted to say. And in Buddha and Jaina literature also, like I mentioned earlier, Lalita Vistara and all, there also we can find several references. And this Bhakshali manuscripts, Bhakshali is a place near Peshawar. Now it is located in Pakistan. Earlier it was the part of India only. There they found a manuscript, and a research scholar is still working from Japan. He is still working on this manuscript, and they now dated it as 7th century. So there you can find approximate value of the square root of a non-square number. So such references also can be found. But this this manuscript is not completely not available. Some parts are available. So in this and another interesting thing is earlier they decided means they dated this Bhakshali manuscript as 3rd century. But now in the recent researchers say that it is of 7th century. So some different opinion is there. So let us see a couple of sample from Indian mathematics. So this is once again from Aryabhatiyam. The value of pi, how we can see in this verse. So he says, Chaturadhikam shatamashtagunam dvashashtis tatha sahasranam ayutadvaya vishkambhasyasanno vrittaparinaha. Chaturadhikam shatamashtagunam dvashashtis tatha sahasranam. So Chaturadhikam shatam, ashtagunam, Chaturadhikam shatam 104, and ashtagunam, multiply it by 8, and then sahasranam dvashashtihi, 62,000 must be added. So multiply 104 by 8 and then add 62,000. So it becomes 62,832. So this is an approximate circumference of a circle with a diameter of 20,000. Ayutadvaya Vishkambha means diameter. So this is an approximate circumference of a circle with a diameter of 20,000. If circumference is 62,832, then diameter, or if the diameter of a circle is 20,000, then circumference should be 62,832. And all of us know that pi is a relation between circumference and diameter, right? So if you divide 62,832 by 20,000, it gives this value 3.1416. So this is the current value of pi, what we say. Very interesting thing is he says ayutadvaya vishkambhasya asannaha. This is approaching value, asannaha, or nearest value, he says. So this can be understood in two ways. One, he is simply giving an approximate value. The second thing is he is communicating that pi is irrational. So that is the theory, right? So if we go with that opinion, then it is a great contribution towards mathematics given by Aryabhatta. So because I think it is Lambert in the 18th century who has proved that it is irrational number. So let us take another example from Indian mathematics itself. So he explains what actually an infinity is. So I hope you all know that any number divided by 0, it is called as infinity, because the value of that particular number is not definite. So he explains, asmin vikarah kaharena rashau api pravishteshapi nisriteshu bahushyapi sya laya srishti kale nantechyute bhutaganeshu yadvat. So he explains, asmin, in this kahara rashi. So hara means the divisor. So kham means 0. So kahara means infinity, where the divisor is 0. So he says there is no change in the kahara by adding or subtracting, just like immutable Brahma, which doesn't have any effect by the living beings entering or leaving it at the time of dissolution or creation of the world. So like Ananta Achyuta. So it is immutable, that Brahma, and api pravishteshu api nisriteshu. So during the dissolution, all living beings enter into the Brahma, and during the creation of the world, all living beings actually leave the Brahma, but Brahma remains like that only. He doesn't get changed. So similarly, if you add anything in the Kahara Rashi, or if you subtract anything from the Kahara Rashi, this will remain same. So he explains the value of Kahara with the beautiful metaphor here. So, and a very interesting thing, we can see the Bhashya Parampara also in such mathematics and astronomy texts also. We are very much aware of the Bhashya Parampara in other disciplines like Vedanta, Vyakarana and all. So even in astronomy texts or mathematics, we can see such Bhashyas. So one of the Bhashya is Bija Pallava, composed in the 16th century. He actually presents the rationale behind this theory. So he says, as much as the divisor is diminished, so much is the quotient increased, isn't it? So if divisor gets reduced, then the quotient must be increased. If the divisor is reduced to the utmost, the quotient is increased to the utmost also. So if it can be specified that the amount of the quotient is so much, it has not been raised to the utmost, because a greater than that is possible. So if it can be specified, then we cannot say that it is utmost, because the greater than that also is possible. See, he explains very beautifully. Yatha yatha bhajakaha apachiyate. In this way, in Sanskrit only that commentary has been composed. So therefore, the quotient is great without limit, and the resulting kahara quantity is infinite. So he beautifully presents the rationale behind this. So this also is very interesting thing. Let us see an example from Leelavati of Bhaskaracharya. So he gives the formula to get the area, surface area and volume of a sphere in one single verse. It is composed in Mandakranta. So Vrittakshetre Paridhigunita Vyasapada Phalam Tat Kshunnam Vedairu Pariparitah Kandukasyeva Jalam Golasyaivam Tadapi cha Phalam Prishthajam Vyasanignam Shadbhirbhaktam Bhavati Niyatam Gola Garbhe Ghanakhyam. So the meaning, Vrittakshetre Paridhigunita Vyasapada Phalam. The Kshetra Phala, the area is Paridhigunita Vyasapada. Paridhi is circumference and Vyasa diameter. Pada is 1/4. So the circumference multiplied by 1/4 of the diameter is the area. And that area multiplied by 4. So Kshunnam Vedaihi, Vedas represent 4. So Vedas denote 4 because 4 Vedas. So this is a way of mentioning the numbers. So in the text, Chandas Shastra and mathematics text, they don't give direct, they don't communicate the numbers directly, like 4 or Chatwari, like that they don't say. So whatever represent 4, for example, 4 Purusharthas are there or 4 Vedas are there. So they use such words. And if they want to say 3, then they usually say that 3 gunas. Gunas are 3, no, Sattva, Rajas, Tama. So they use the term guna, or they use the term Agni because 3 fires are popular. So in this way they say. So Veda means 4 here. So this area is multiplied by 4 becomes the surface area, and he gives it is Kandukasyeva Jalam Upari Paritaha. So which is going around like a net around the ball, that is a surface area. And Golasyaivam Tadapicha Phalam Prishthajam Vyasanignam Shadbhir Bhaktam. So this surface area multiplied by the diameter and divided by 6. Vyasanignam Shadbhir Bhaktam. So multiplied by the diameter and divided by 6 becomes the volume of the sphere. So in this way, he gives 3 formulas in this verse. So it is very easy to remember also. And another interesting thing within Indian mathematics is they give very poetic problems. So usually mathematics make us boring, no? So in the text like Bhaskara or Sridhara and all, and even Bijaganitavatams and all, they give very lovely problems. So see a problem here. Let us see one example for this. Alikula dalamulam malatim yatamastau nikhila navama bhagaschalini bhringamekam Nishiparimala lubdham padmapatre padmamadhye niruddham pratiranatiranantam bruhi kanteli sankhyam. So Alikula dala moolam malatim yatamastau. So it says the square root of half number of a swarm of bees is gone to the shrub of jasmine. Ali means bees. So Alikula dala moolam. The square root of half the number of a swarm of bees is gone to the shrub of jasmine. Nikhila Navama Bhagashta. Again, so 8/9 of the whole swarm has gone to the same shrub. So Nikhila Navama Bhagashta. And then a couple of honeybees remain there. And it says that both actually singing like a duet song. So this couple. So in this way, he poses the problem and he says that Bruhi Kanteli Sankhyam. So say, lovely woman, what is the number of the honeybees? So in this way, he actually poses the problem. And if you are interested, you can see the how to solve this problem. If you assume the swarm of bees as 2x square, then the which has gone to the shrub of jasmine, it is the square root of half number of the swarm, right? So it becomes x, and then 9/8 or 8/9 of the whole swarm has gone to again to the same shrub. So you have to make 9 or 8 by 9 into 2x square. So it becomes 16x square by 9, and 2 were seen. So in this way, the equation becomes x plus 16x square by 9 plus 2 is equal to 2x square. And if you go on solving this problem, you will get the value of x is 6, and in total the total number of honeybees is 72. So you can see that. So this is so with this we have seen some glimpses of Indian mathematics, and especially very significant contribution towards mathematics. We can see that from 13th century to till 18th century, it is popularly known as Kerala School of Mathematics. People like Parameshwara and Golavida Madhava and Nilakantha Somayaji and so on, many mathematicians. They were mathematicians and astronomers also. Their works also can be seen if anyone is interested. And several research papers and several books also are available. Especially Venugopal D. Herur, whom I mentioned earlier, he has done very good research, and he has written several books also for the beginners from and with several levels. And people like Ramasubramanian, who is working in IIT Mumbai, and our faculty who is here, Anil Narayananji, he also has his PhD thesis also is in Indian mathematics only. So we have several people who are working in this Indian mathematics. So let us go to the next branch, which is Samhita. So as I had mentioned in my previous discussion, Siddhanta, Samhita and Hora are the three branches in Indian Jyotish Shastra. So let us see, what does Samhita mean? This definition given by Varahamihira in his Brihat Samhita, Jyotish Shastra Maneka Bheda Vishayam Skandhatrayadhishtitam Tat Karsnyopanayasya Namamunibhis Sankirtyate Samhita. Jyotish Shastra consists of various subject matters and is in three branches. The treatment of the subjects in its entirety is termed by sages Samhita. So as I mentioned in my previous discussion also, Samhita means a collection of various things. So we can just get the sense. I have listed some topics in Samhita texts here. So Ratna Pariksha, so examination of gems, the purity of the gems, and Gandha Yukti, preparation of perfumes. And this Gandha Yukti chapter contains the formula of some these things also related to permutation and combinations also. So wherever this discussion comes, Indian mathematics discussion comes, this Gandha Yukti chapter also people take into the consideration. And Prasada Pratima Lakshanam, the characteristics of the temples, how to build the temple and the measures, different this thing, and the idols also. So this is some architecture related thing also is involved here. And Vajralepa, a kind of hard mortar or cement. So we must construct the temples or we must construct the buildings. So for that, some that hard mortar is required. No, so how to prepare that? So one entire chapter is dedicated to prepare such to give the guidelines to prepare such cements. That is called as Vajralepa. Vajra means like a diamond, means it is. So if you prepare that lepa, that glue, and if you prepare the building, any kind of building, if you construct any kind of building with that glue, it will remain like Vajra. No one can break it. So therefore, it is termed as Vajralepa. And Sasya Jatakam and Vrikshayurveda, growth of crops, and Vrikshayurveda, arboreal medicine, and Dakargala, and the exploration of water springs. So where can I get the water if I dig? So those things also are there. And Garbha Lakshana, Dharana, Pravarshana chapters actually are on rainfall. So a lot of things, and some of these things we can see that they have been grown later as independent disciplines also. For example, this Vriksha Ayurveda and Sasya Jataka, we can see later texts like Krishi Parashara and all, they actually majorly focus on such that in that area only. And even this Prasada Pratima Lakshana and Vastu, that actually again Indian architecture, it actually evolved as a separate or as an independent discipline only later. So such things also can be seen. So all these things are very important. For example, if you want to build a temple, people come to the astrologer and they means once again astrologer, the meaning of astrologer nowadays has been narrowed down. And using that term astrology in a broader perspective. So people come to him. So he must be knowing all these things. To construct the temple, he must be knowing the features of idol and the temples. And then you have to cut the trees in a place to construct the temple. And he says that in another place you must grow the trees also to compensate this. So there actually he discusses Sasya Jataka and Vriksha Ayurveda. And Vana Sampravesha Adhyaya, how to enter a forest, that also has been discussed in a separate chapter. And to construct the building, Vajralepa is required. So all these things are knowing all these things is a duty of a Jyotishika. Therefore, I said that this one must know that astrologer, the meaning of the term astrologer or astrology has been narrowed down now. So we must, whenever I use the term astrology or astrologer, you must take in the broader sense. So some other topics you can see here, that grahanam chara, the effects of planets setting and rising, conjunctions and all, their rays, their form, the change in their colors, the change in their forms, and bhukampa on earthquakes. So how we can get the signs of earthquakes and what are the consequences of the earthquakes. So that also Bhukampadhyaya is there. And Ulka also has been discussed. And various omens, Shakuna. So whatever happens which is not natural, then our perception was whatever is not natural, it actually comes to suggest something. So what actually it is suggesting? So that through birds and jackals, crows, Gaveng Gitam, and several chapters are there. And Angavidya, prediction through limbs. So this only later now whatever we call as Hasta Samudraka. So this also one part of Samhita only. And again, this is very important that Varamira says, Na chaikakina shakyante aharnisham avadharayitum nimittani. Some error is here. Avadharayitum nimittani. Tasmat subhrutenaiva daivajnena anyepi chattvaras tadvidah kartavyaha. It is not possible for a single person to comprehend all these occurring day and night. Hence, an astrologer in the employ of a king should engage 4 efficient assistants for the task. So you can say once again, the role of an astrologer is not limited to read the horoscopes of individuals. Their duty is to protect the entire kingdom, which is actually we cannot even imagine now. So they actually in earlier days an Jyotishika was essential in the court of a king, because they actually those astrologers or those Jyotishikas actually every time advise the king that see these are the things happening. For example, now also this pandemic, corona or COVID pandemic is there. No, so for such things also, it is not with the astrology, whatever we call as Hora. Based on that Hora, it is not possible. So I hope you remember that mundane astrology, what I mentioned earlier. So based on these aspects, that Grahanam, Charaha, Bhukampa, Ulkapata, Grahana, based on these, there is a concept of Varsha Phala. If you see some traditional Panchangas, they write the Varsha Phala, and on the day of Yugadi, on the day of Vishu in Kerala, but in other places on the first day of a year, in some traditions it is there that they read the Varsha Phala. What are the effects in the entire year, what we are going to experience in the entire year. So that also they don't actually collect all the inputs, whatever discussed in the Samhita text, but they try their best with the available sources. But I think this is very important now, that if such things can be taken into the consideration, and if, because a single person cannot do, a group of shastrajnas must do this. So this is to examine the effects of an entire kingdom, or of a particular country or state. So like that only such things are prescribed, not for individuals. So this much is from Samhita, and again these are the subject matter of Samhita. So again he says that who is a Daivajna and who is not the Daivajna. See, now also there are a lot of fake Jyotishis, what we see now also. And here also in Varamira says that Kuhakavesha Pihita Karnopashruti Hetubhihi Kritadesho na Sarvatra Prashtavyo Nasadaiva. With don't approach these kind of people. They are not the Jyotishikas. They are not the Daivajnas. So people who are sorcerers or possessed by deities, we don't know what is fact or what is fake. So before trusting, we must think several times. And he clearly says that these are not astrologers, or these are not Daivajnas who are actually, and again, these eavesdropping, like some yakshi is saying something in my ear. Many people are there. So such things you should not consider as Jyotisha. If you trust them or not, if you believe it or not, that is different thing. But clearly he says that don't approach those people. And the important thing is don't consider them as Jyotishikas. Don't consider whatever they say is Jyotisha. So this much awareness he gives. So here I have given one example how to prepare that Vajralepa. So he says, Amam Tindukamamam Kapithakam Pushpam Apicha Shalmalyaha Bijani Sallakinam Dhanvanavalko Vasacheti. This is how they used to prepare that mortar and to build the buildings. So take unripe Tinduka fruits, unripe wood apples, flowers of silk cotton, seeds of sallaki, the bark of dhanvana and vacha, boil them all in a drona of water and reduce it to an eighth of its original volume. So Ashtama bhaga should remain. So eighth of the entire original volume should remain. Combine the sediments with the following substances, which are Srivasaka, Guggulu, Bhallataka, Kunduruka, and Sarjatri. So in this way he gives several things, and this paste is termed Vajralepa. And he says, so when this glue being heated and given to temples or prasada, harmya, valabhi, mansions and valabhi, and linga, Shiva's emblems, and pratima, the idols, and kudya kupa, walls and wells, varsha sahasrayuta sthayi, such buildings or such temples or mansions will last for 1 crore of years. So it is it is very strong, and you need not to worry about your construction. Nowadays we can see some opposite things. So, this is what they had, and especially very interesting thing is, if you see some Ayurveda texts also, the Shastrakaras actually say at the end that this knowledge I got from this village, or some what we say, sometimes we call some people as illiterate, but they are very much scholars in several things. For example, these things, it is not that Shastra prescribes this and then people start to use it. So these things actually already existed in the day-to-day life of of human being at a particular time, and some Shastra texts actually find all these things and they actually write down as a Shastra. They give a framework of a Shastra. So always we actually have that discussion whether the Shastras prescribe something or describe something. So our Dharma Shastra and many of our Shastras actually describe what is there in the practice. They don't prescribe this must be done or this should be done. So like that. So whatever is there in the practice, so later they frame it, frame the things who are there in the practice, they frame them as a prescription. But originally this is description only. So here also it was in practice. Varahamihira actually brings it into the structural form. So let us see another example for Vriksha Ayurveda from Samhita itself. So he says, Shita Vata Tapai Rogo Jayate Pandupatrata Avruddhischa Pravalanam Shakashosho Rasasrutihi. So he gives the cause of the diseases and he shows the symptoms of the diseases also. So excess cold, wind and sun rays cause diseases, and then what are the symptoms of the such diseases? Usually turn yellow. So these are only few examples. The text actually contains a lot more information, and he explains the remedies also, that chikitsita mathaitesham shastrenado vishodhanam vidanga ghita pankatan sechayet kshiravarina. The branch which is diseased must be cut. The mixture of medicine called vidanga, ghee and wet mud must be applied, and then the mixture of milk and water must be sprinkled. So in this way he explains the remedies also, various remedies also. Who, if anyone is interested, can go to that chapter in Brihat Samhita. So this is from Brihat Samhita only, Vriksha Ayurveda chapter. So as I explained that these are some examples from Samhita. So we saw one example for Vajralepa and Vriksha Ayurveda, and the subject matters of Samhita have been explained or shown in the beginning. So let us see, what does Hora mean? So Hora is what we now call as Phalajyotisha, whatever predictive astrology. So some important things I have listed here. So Hora denotes the karma phala. This karma siddhanta, I hope all of you know that whatever we experience in this birth is the effect of our deeds in previous births. So there are three types: prarabdha, sanchita and agami. So prarabdha karma phala, what we experience. So whatever the effects of our prarabdha karma we are experiencing in our birth, this birth. So then what actually planets do? So usually we say that Kuja, Shani Anishtakaraka, Guru Putrakaraka, or Ravi. So for example, Guru is very bad in my horoscope, or Shani is very worst planet. So in this way we say this is just Aupacharika only. These are not fact. So what actually fact is, Hora reveals or indicates the effects of the good and bad deeds of our previous births. So whatever we have done in the previous births, that actually give their effects, and we experience that. Then what actually horoscopes show is, as I said, horoscopes or the hora, this discipline, or the horoscope or the planets, they just indicate the effects. They don't. Now, Guru is not neither a Shubha Graha, Shani is not a Papa Graha. Actually, if you go to the philosophy of this Shastra, all are equal. But why do we call Guru as a Shubha Graha, Shani as a Papa Graha? Because Guru indicates our good deeds. Therefore, we call Guru as Shubha Graha. Shani indicates our bad deeds of our previous births. So Shani, we call the Shani as Papa Graha. So all these things, whatever we say in this way, it is just for the prediction only. This is not philosophically fact. So this is one important thing. And many times when we call Jyotish Shastra, this predictive astrology, as a discipline, many people laugh at it because they don't think any kind of rationality. They don't think that this Shastra, this astrology has a systematic rationality and all, but it is completely their ignorance only. If you go deeply into, or if you just spend some time with the text, you will clearly know that it has a well organized methodology of prediction based on the observations and experiments. So, and the text actually formed, and some principles have been set based on the observations. It is not blindly saying something. It has its own methodology. If you go little deeper into that discipline, you will get to know that. So whether it is scientific or not, that is completely different. And again, we have to define what science and all. So no need to bother about it. But it is it has well organized methodology, and so therefore that is very important thing. Like, so what actually qualifies a discipline, it should have a systematic rationality or systematic methodology. So that qualifies a discipline. So such things are there. So that is one thing. And this Jyotish, this Hora, what we call as Phala Jyotisha, has two parts. One is Jataka and other one is Prashna. So Jataka is based on the planetary positions of the birth time. So usually astrologers compute the planetary positions of the birth time, and based on that they read the effects of the previous whatever karma phala, they read the karma phala, that is called as Jataka. And Prashna, which is very popular in Kerala, and in Kerala it has a very organized system. And Prashna is based on the planetary positions of the time of question. When a person comes and asks the astrologer, at that time he actually what we call in Kerala that Kavadi, or in Kannada it's a Kavade, and in Sanskrit it is Varatika. So they actually places all the planets in their positions, and based on that they do the prediction. So that is called as Prashna. So these are the two parts of Hora. So now when it comes to Prashna, this question is always existed. So whether fate works or Purushakara, our effort works. For example, when we say that whatever we experience is the result of our previous deeds, then it becomes like whatever I do in this birth is affecting in my next birth only. So it doesn't affect my this current birth. So in this way, people understand. So Daiva is the result. So Daiva or Karma Phala, the same. And Purushakara means the effort I put in this birth. So which one is superior? there are different, if you see if you see the text like Shukraniti or Shanti Parva, so there is a longer discussions. You can find whether Daiva is superior or Purushakara is superior. So if you see Jyotish Shastra, now what actually Jyotish Shastra does? Is it only to say that this is your fate, or does it have any other purpose? So it is very important. Jyotish Shastra means this Phalat Jyotisha, he doesn't only stop by saying that this is your fate, you must experience this. It doesn't only stop there. It actually helps the person to improve his future. Therefore, in Prashna Marga it says, Kasya Paktiriti Jnatum Idanim Pura Karmanam Iharjitancha Vijnatum Karma Prashno Vidhiyate. The karma phala earned in the present life also matters, which is stated in Prashna Marga. So, for example, we can see several examples like Vishwamitra Brahmana Nyaya. Vishwamitra born as a Kshatriya, but he transformed himself as a Brahmarshi. So in that birth only, it is not in the next birth. So there is a possibility of, with the hard work, to improve your karma, your future. So that is the major purpose of Jyotish Shastra. It is not just to say that this is your fate, you must eat this. So that is not the purpose. So that also we must understand. And the next thing, this is always the subject of debate. The Phala Jyotisha, whether it is Vedic or not. Many people question the term also, that Vedic astrology term also many people question, many people challenge that this is, in Vedas you will not find the Phala Jyotisha. As I mentioned in the beginning, that what is the purpose of Jyotisha? It is Kala Vidhana Shastram. This is to determine the time, not the prediction, the purpose of Vedanga Jyotisha. So, and even in the Vedic text, you will not find the reference for the Rashis, Mesha, Vrishabha, Mithuna, and all. And even if you see Vedanga Jyotisha, the computations of Tithi, Nakshatra, and all, it doesn't actually deals with the true positions of Jupiter or Venus or Mercury and all. So those things actually have come later. Based on these things, many people say that this astrology, whatever prediction is there, it is actually non-Vedic and it is flourished from Greek or Babylonian culture. So the answer, what I, with the guidance of some, or with the discussions I found, with the discussion with the scholar, with some scholars, that nakshatra adharita phala jyotisha can be seen in Vedas. So, for example, yang kamaye taduhitaram priyasya aditi tam nishtayam dadyat priyayo bhavati. This is a kind of phala jyotisha only. If you want your daughter to be dear to her husband, she must be given, or she must be married. She must get married on Swati star. And yah kamayeta dama kamame praja suriti sapurvayoh phalgunyoh agnimadadhita. So one must do the Agnyadhana in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, who wants his children, who are the contributors. Dana Kamaha. If you want your children to be the contributors in the future, then you must do the Agnyadhana in Purva Phalguni Nakshatra. So see, nakshatra dharita phala jyotisha is involved. This is a kind of muhurta only. So yeah, these rashis have not been mentioned in the Vedas, and even Ramayana and Mahabharata also don't contain the, or any, you will not find any references for the rashis, Mesha, Vrishabha, zodiac signs and all, Mesha, Vrishabha and all. There are again some different opinions that in Ramayana we can see the reference for Rama's horoscope, and in critical editions those verses will not be found. So some different things are there. So what I conclude here with the Hora Shastra is we can find this Phala Jyotisha. We can find the references regarding the Phala Jyotisha in Vedic texts also, which is Nakshatra Dharita Phala Jyotisha, not Rasha Dharita Phala Jyotisha. But later it got evolved. Yes, it got influenced by the Greek civilization and all. We can find some clear references that one Greek text actually translated into Sanskrit as Vruddha Yavana Jataka. So such things are there, and even the names of the weekdays, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and in our tradition, Bhanuvar, Adityavara, Adityavasara, Somavasara, Mangalavasara. See these names based on the planets, right? Various planets. This also has been flourished from Babylonia. It is not. It doesn't find its origin in India, our Vedic texts. There is an opinion like this, and we cannot find such days, Adityavara, Somavara, and all in the Vedic texts also. We can find nakshatra, we can find masa, the month and all, but the days named after such planets cannot be found in Vedic texts and even in Ramayana, Mahabharata texts also. So such things are there, but yeah, it got influenced from West also. West means especially from Greek civilization, and it has we got the contribution from our own acharyas also, which is purely Indian thought process. So it is a mixture of both things, and it is the nature of any discipline. If it is a discipline, it should keep growing. It should not stop anywhere. And it is a nature, and it is acceptable. There is no problem in accepting it. So with this, I will conclude this session. Since the time is very less, I could show only a few things. And now it is time for questions. So, and once again, I extend my gratitude to Gauriji and Srinathji for inviting me for this discussion on Jyotish Shastra in this very celebrated lecture series, Ola. Thank you very much. And thanks to the participants also. Actually, if you see our tradition, even in Ayurveda or Jyotish Shastra, so we always feel that the reasons can be Daiva and Bhauta. So we must do the pratikara to do the things from both ends. For example, if you see Ayurveda Shastra, it actually says both things. You must do the remedies and you must do some graha shantis also. Actually, if you see the tradition, the astrologers and Ayurveda Panditas, they were actually mutually connected with. So such things you can see. So our belief is there is something that which is beyond our reach, and we find it as Daiva. And whatever, and if you see the Mimamsa tradition, that whatever you offer to the graha or the deity is just the name only, isn't it, Gauriji? So the deity is just the name only, Indra, Varuna, whatever. But whatever you do, whatever you perform, that actually gives you the.
I think it is mainly to give us some moral support as well, that we are doing our karma, but along with that we are doing something which is Adi Daivika. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of discussion has happened in this regard. So one important thing is, see, actually, now Jyotish Shastra can analyze what happens, and it must be asked before what it happens. And for example, whatever we do, whatever we give as Varsha Phala. For example, in the beginning, on the day of Yugadi, on the first day of an year, that Panchanga Shravana is there. No, I don't know
Yes,
how,
yes.
how many traditions it is still alive.
Even in Maharashtra, it is there on Gudi Padwa day. We used to read the Panchanga Phala, yeah, the Varsha Phala.
Varsha Phala. Actually,
Yes.
now that is just like one tradition, it is remaining now. But we are not actually considering that very seriously. I feel that this must be considered very seriously, and we must work seriously on it, and people should receive also. There are some references like if Guru and Shani are posited in single nakshatra, then it makes Tribhaga Shesham Kurute Vasundharam. It has it suggests some evil effects. So that's what Samhita texts say. So there are some other things also, and this discussion actually takes a long time. Last year also the same. This Guru and Shani don't come often in a single nakshatra. It happens only once in 19 or 20 years. So there are some other things also to be taken to the consideration. So what according to this Samhita text, what we can believe that this pandemic situation may get ended by next April because of some planetary positions, and because of the Varsha Phala also. Yes, actually, Varahamihira refers a lot of earlier acharyas also. Maya Yavana, Manitha Shakti Purvaihi. He mentions Maya. He mentions Yavana. Yavana actually, he is mentioning Greek astrologers only. Manitha, Shakti Purva, Parashara only. And he mentions Satyacharya also. So we can definitely say that there were a lot of astrology texts even before Varahamihira, but they are not currently available. And so it is a great loss that we cannot even get the imagine or get the even a kind of broader picture that how after Vedanga Jyotisha till Varyabhata, how the Shastra got evolved. So because of the we can see references in all three branches. Even Panchasiddhantika, in Panchasiddhantika, Varahamihira mentions Brahma, Soma, Brahma, Saura, Vasishtha, Lomasha, and Romaka and Paulisha. He refers to or he mentions these 5 earlier Siddhantas. So we can find such references. But unfortunately, those texts are not available, and we cannot trace the origin of Hora Shastra.
When it comes to astrology, there are a lot many things like Ganita is there, then gravitation force is there, physics is there, infinity. The Khahara is a very fantastic term. And what you said in Khahara, I'm really reminded of our Shanti Mantra, which you say, Purnamada Purnamidam. It is exactly the illustration of that. But are the sutras of Lagadha or any Grantha which is available? We always speak about Varahamihira and the other later text.
Yeah, actually, on Indian mathematics and astronomy, this Lagadha, as I mentioned that in my previous session, that the commencements of Uttarayana, that winter solstice or summer solstice, for those things we can find the references. Lagadha's Vedanga Jyotisha is a very small text, means 36 verses in Archa Jyotisha and 39 verses in Yajusha Jyotisha. It doesn't have much mathematics related things. So, and in later texts, as I mentioned earlier also, that so such texts are not available now. That earlier Pancha Siddhantas are also not available now. We cannot get the clear picture of the evolution of that particular period. From 10th century BCE till 5th century AD or 4th century AD, we cannot get the clear picture that when what kind of concept was
okay.
let me be clear that in the authentic texts or earlier texts, there is Rahu Kala hasn't been mentioned.
Okay.
And even but it is strongly there in somewhere in practice. And some muhurta text says that na shastra drishtya vidusha kathanchid ullanghaniya kula desha dharma. So some kula dharma and desha dharma, you cannot simply throw it just by saying that there is no shastra behind that. Because in many of our dharma shastra, if you see, some sadachara only transformed as a shastra. So but I don't consider, if someone asks me, or my Guruji also says same, that I don't consider Rahu Kala as a very strong thing, that this is Rahu Kala, you should not do anything. Like that, I don't think, and my Gurus also say the same. But if in some tradition, if they consider Rahu Kala as major thing, then we must respect. And so sometimes it is better to say that I don't accept it, instead of saying that is completely foolish. So there is two things. No, let me be udasina in such concepts. I cannot completely throw it out because some practices, but we should not show Rahu Kala like a demon. In many places that Jyotishikas are actually showing that things also. And another thing, if time permits, that Dinaphala people actually daily in newspapers also, in TV also, that is completely nonsense.
That I know, because it keeps on rotating in 12 rashis. Yeah, we've seen that.
Because according to Jyotish Shastra, it is impossible. So, yeah.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.